Civilizing America, Chapter 3. Establish bonds. Bonds sustain mutual goals. We welcome, listen, and share. The universal human experience of bonding is a fundamental resource for us. Several influences affect it. Talking one day with a friend who became one of the best teachers I have ever known, I inquired about people who had affected him. The person who came instantly to his mind was a slightly older girl at high school. When I asked him why, he said, well, she was thinking about things. Her positive, inquiring mind and interest in people encouraged him to do the same. We discussed then how groups need such a centering influence, and that without it, chance influences govern. The kind of group we envision here implies thinking and connecting in depth, so that positive influences can affect everyone and lend energy to activities. Who we are and how we think and feel about each other fuel our effort and tell us how deeply to draw on ourselves. To apply this perspective to yourself, do you have heart? And do you think? If so, you can be a touch point for others, and they can draw on you to sustain their interest and direction. You may already connect with music, sunsets, watching puppies play, seeing family, or products of your imagination. In that vein, can you let yourself be touched by people who join you in social action, even though they challenge you? Their access to you may be decisive. People sense whether we let them in or not. The group strength necessary may not even be possible unless such an influence binds us together at an instinctual level. Align influences. Distinct elements need to work together. During World War II, researchers studying morale among pilots found significance in, quote, being a member of a group in which flying and fighting is the only acceptable behavior, unquote. Membership, a supreme value, and action on it bound pilots together, and their shared convictions sustained their effort. Individual effort arose from group development, uniting through purpose, support, and activity, aiding each other because everyone valued their common mission. 4 integrated organizational conditions can determine group effectiveness: vision, learning, mutual support, and action. Vision answers the perennial question, why are we doing this? It establishes the value of people's efforts, draws from the learning, orients the action, and inspires. Learning together focuses the action accurately on real conditions, provides common experience where mutual support can occur, and gives scope and detail to the vision. With mutual support, people encourage each other's commitment and teamwork and meet individual needs. Action applies the vision, support, and learning to society. When these traits lack proportion, the group is weaker. Without action, the other 3 leave the group inbred and static. Vision and action can achieve the group's goals but tire people out and leave them scattered. With mutual support, people sink deeper roots into the group but may overdo comfort and shortchange action. Learning can deepen the group's understanding, but leave it too theoretical. Balance among the four helps sustain members' direction. Obey specifications. We can think of such conditions as specifications within which human nature prospers. We are familiar with many physical ones, like our need for sleep, food, movement, and others, but our social existence also has them, some hard, some easy. Scores of limits and capacities are built into us, and when we employ the latter constructively, our efforts are on target, they succeed. But as we discard their proper activity, we ruin human experience. To solve a problem due, for instance, to thinking poorly and failing to cooperate, it is not complicated to conclude that we must think better and cooperate. Love within a family accounts hugely for individuals' well-being and happiness. So, if family members with problems are unloving toward each other, we know where to focus our remedy. In social issues, boundaries distinguishing constructive from destructive behavior enable us to define crime and consequences. An expectation of fairness, for instance, seems engraved not only in us, even monkeys are distressed when it is violated. Principles of justice, rights, freedom, and responsibility similarly are rooted in human nature, and when we violate them, things turn out badly. There is no off-ramp from the difficulty. We have to understand what works and do that. Auto service illustrates. Imagine having a car problem and two garages to call. One works on Model T Fords and the other on Maseratis. But since we own a Maserati Gran Turismo, only the Maserati parts and service will work. If we adhere to human nature's specifications, it excels. If we ignore them, it is crippled. Bondedness is a critical condition that enables us to focus confidently on what we can achieve. Even inspiring heroism, as people have a similar conviction about the value of their purpose. Here, we advance features of human nature that contribute to a movement for constructive social change. Action is formative. A critical need of human nature is activity. It channels our attention, drawing on perceptions, reasons, feelings, and our physical nature. Once undertaken, it encourages us to continue even while narrowing our focus, which has benefits and drawbacks. Recall when you weighed a decision, tossing and turning different aspects, your mind moving flexibly among options. When you finally resolved the issue and acted, a metamorphosis occurred. Your action imposed order on the issue and made it harder for others to draw you in a different direction, embedded you more firmly in your own reasons, and reduced your interest in extraneous information. This effect is important for group formation. We get new people into action soon to sustain their vision, reinforce their learning, and firm up their attitudes. It creates the rough and tumble that defines the edges of an idea, or else its energy can dissipate. As a college sophomore, I took a course in labor law. One day our instructor, an elderly Jesuit, directed our attention to a small manufacturing plant in town and said, "Get in the door." And that was all. It was dusk and cold when I made my visit. Around the plant were groups of people, and an oil barrel held a blazing fire for people to warm up. I quickly understood that the plant was shut down by workers striking for better pay and working conditions. A picket line blocked entrances to the plant, which had remained open to welcome anyone willing to cross the picket line and go to work. Our teacher's assignment faced the contention: which side would we choose? Cross a picket line and tell the striking workers we were not on their side? In a few minutes, the experience populated my mind with vivid human reference for our studies: rights, needs, fairness, and the historic struggles between management and labor. Direct encounter makes ideas real, confirming the strength of our reasons, increasing harmony with our allies, and validating our views. Because action also sharpens boundaries against our adversaries, we are advised to resolve amicably everything possible with them before any opposing action. Negotiate before shooting. We do not always need to dominate. Muawiyah, an early leader of Islam, who achieved peace and prosperity during his time, was reputed to govern, quote, by intrigue so subtle that force had seldom to be used. Subquote. This is Muawiyah talking. "I apply not my sword," he said, "where my lash suffices, nor my lash where my tongue is enough. And even if there be one hair binding me to my fellow men, I do not let it break. When they pull, I loosen, and if they loosen, I pull." End quote. Today's world would be better off with this message. Begin by listening. Trading ideas moves us toward bonds, and a little structure can help. We divide our group into pairs, threes, or small groups to discuss introductory topics while using the guidelines for perfect conversation in Appendix 1. Here are topics. Who am I? Values that matter most to me. How I design my life to support them. What I can do by myself. What I want to accomplish. How I rely on others. How I expect to develop. How we affect each other's motivation. What inspires my effort. Exploring topics related to group experience can help unite thinking. Returning to them periodically reaffirms a common focus. These are topics for group experience. Good outcomes working with a group. Limitations working with a group. The meaning of our group. What I hope for from this group. How I handle my beliefs that differ from the group's. How we manage feelings about each other. How personal contact can change people's ideas. Adequacy of our present knowledge. How our learning can affect the future of the world. how we can integrate new people into our group, standards we adopt, group action for large needs, what we might accomplish. Form a core group. A core group is a stable nucleus within a more loosely affiliated body. It becomes core as its members are reliable. Everyone knows they can count on each other to carry out the group's purpose and aid those with tentative commitment. A cohesive family is a model. People care for each other, develop goals together, and guide each other. We are in this together. Relying on the group for protection, solace, encouragement, support, and mutual effort, they generate collective power. Of two main reasons people join groups, one is its purpose, like electing Jan for senator. That can displace minor differences. We can fulfill tasks and not even know others. But with Jan, our reason for attending, our effort ends with the election. The other reason is something for ourselves, maybe just liking each other until we catch a common vision. On a job, we may override impressions of abrasive co-workers because paid to do so. But in a voluntary group, relationships often determine whether we stay, especially our sense of how we can rely on each other. Reliability is the group's muscle, so those entering should be alerted to its importance. The group need not teach it as an idea, but rather presume that all can count on everyone else. Though people's first activities may be hit and miss, when they accept responsibility, reliability matters more. Ignoring agreements and commitments injures confidence. The group reflects to each one their strengths and limitations, offers realism as well as encouragement, and cuts them no slack about their mistakes. Much more on that later. Extend invitations. Many people have goodwill and await only an invitation. Around 62 million volunteer for purposes like church activity, ecological sustainability, public service, education, and civic needs. When we ask if they would like to help, many are ready. A core group might begin in a parent organization, such as a church, where common values already unite people. The whole congregation may take up new activity together, or an interested few involve others. Churchgoers not wishing to be political can attend to community needs, with others turning to their political affiliations during political election seasons. Members of a single-purpose associations often share broader values and might expand their focus. A new group can also form from a few who offer a come-and-see meeting, invite friends, acquaintances, and the public, and present a rationale for new effort. To proceed cautiously, we invite fewer, but growth can still occur rapidly. If only 2 people each draw in one more friend per week, and that one does the same, and so on, we are over 30 in 5 weeks. Finding others who can develop a common vision with us is like marrying. If we expect to associate with people for a long time, we start with those we get along with. But though diversity stresses a group, it can be an asset. If our collective ideas are off track, contrary thinkers more readily give us a heads up. A group is stronger when people like each other, but liking makes us less willing to challenge each other's flabby thinking. We build group strength from the start by welcoming varied interests, even though challenging people to get along with others unlike them. A practical bar for entry is people's willingness to use the communication skills detailed in Appendices 1 and 2 to work out differences. With effective communications inside the group, we show that people with contrary views can work together outside it. Experience of a great team. The inescapable requirement for significant change is not just time for others, but with others as a team. We do not need a debating society or abstract theorists nor cannons launching broadsides, but rather discipline of task. We join it if it exists, or bring it together. Individuals collaborating in teams and teams becoming a movement. Good teams accommodate many personal styles. People object to them mostly for reasons we can do something about, like non-democratic procedures, confusion, conflict, pressure, obligation, or boredom. Tasks in nearly any form can help. Some people are more attuned to the novel and public, and others to the predictable and private. Some act at a moment's notice, and others like to schedule ahead. Some are more sociable, and others introspective. All kinds of activity are needed to pursue most goals. The team envisioned here supports progress wherever it occurs, and not just for its current objectives. It can welcome members whose main activity lies within another organization. The latter may address a need that concerns them, yet they affiliate with us, perhaps because we are more active, or they like our vision and support. Because they choose a place with us, we welcome their report on their progress like everyone else's. These are our people, we think, and they stand inside a line we inscribe defining our team. Our outcomes depend on the resources we can call on within the boundary we draw. Bonds strengthen also as different activities address internal needs. Achieving short-term goals maintains momentum and morale. Discussion connects people while expanding their knowledge. Planning and carrying out issue-related tasks advance its values. Skill building masters techniques. Debriefing forestalls mistakes. Learning and acting together generate mutual support. Maturity and competence attract others. Combine closeness and standards. With strong bonds, people feel closer, which is important because closeness intensifies the group standards, making them higher or lower than they already are. If group standards are constructive and individuals are close, everyone does even better, striving to achieve more because everyone's performance matters to all. Remember the movie Rudy, based on fact, in which a low-status person inspires an entire football team? But closeness also can intensify negative group standards that, for example, value violence and destructiveness. A made man in the mafia gained respect with a contract killing. We want high cohesion or closeness and high standards. Groups reveal this with at least twice as many positive as negative comments in meetings and by animated conversation about the group's priorities. Strong marriages tend to have at least a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative words and deeds toward a partner. The group benefits when everyone relates to everyone else in an open and valuing way and avoids cliques and status differences. Yes, I'd love to do that. Signals an abundant group spirit. As a group becomes closer, leaders also gain more influence to reshape it. Changed thinking in the top 2 or 3 people often can influence the whole. A few hundred at the summit of U.S. power could turn around a nation of hundreds of millions because people presume that those with high status can define priorities for all, though new directions need to be seen as extending the group's principles. In its early stages, people sense their place in the group as more tenuous. They may not believe they can assert themselves, so that the few who do so tend to become leaders. The team forms by recognizing how the capacities and interests of everyone can coalesce, placing special responsibility on those explaining the group's rationale. They need to present values and activities with general appeal, yet tolerate differences inside their common purpose. Be considerate. As we undertake action together, we want to demonstrate high respect and courtesy. We turn to someone and say, "This is something you might enjoy," and note their facial expression. "Do you have an interest in this?" we inquire. "How is your schedule these days? Does this time work for you?" We make it easy for them to say no, so they do not feel imposed on. As they have time to think about our offer and consider what it would displace in their lives, they become more comfortable with it. We notice and continue. "Could we put down your phone number as contact?" And finally, "You'll take this on then?" We affirm the responsibility with, "Who would you like on your team?" Without considerateness, people can feel pressured. The group may claim victory, but "we got them to do it" is not a good seed thought for multiplying group energy. Respect for them means we do not want them to do it unless they want to, and it fits their circumstances. People own a task personally by their contribution to it, although until they are confident of their ideas and reassured how the group will treat them, they may experience anxiety and misread situations. Many years ago, when I handled local efforts for a large organization, an issue arose which I was convinced should be addressed a certain way. I called the national headquarters, unsure of the weight my opinion would have, and found myself highly anxious approaching the call. When the person responding agreed quickly with my solution, I experienced a wave of relief far out of proportion to the issue's importance. In my mind, I was heard, and my view mattered. Even after positive outcomes from their efforts, people can believe they failed. Amid the stress of group activities, they may not demonstrate their competence. So, with steady intra-group communication, we gently and respectfully help them balance their response.